interesting few days at the state capture inquiry, and we stay with it. The testimony of former SAA board member Yakhe Kwinana has raised some serious questions instead of answers. Kwinana, a chartered accountant, refused to answer questions at the state capture inquiry, and that has obviously brought the accounting profession into disrepute in South Africa for many. To discuss the role that accountants play and have played in state capture, we are now joined by Freeman Nomvalo. He's the CEO of the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants. Mr. Nomvalo, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for bringing us your time. I just want to, when you look at the past 2 days, Kwinana's testimony for Monday and Tuesday, as SAICA, when you watched that, what were your thoughts? How did she represent the accounting community?
The specific question, I think I will be able to talk about the broader issues around corruption, but the specific case, because it may come before us, I will be constrained in talking about the specific issues relating to the case of a specific member.
Right.
But we did watch the hearing with concern, and we believe that SAICA must do its part to hold its members accountable to the extent that we are able to establish wrongdoing on their part.
Yeah, well, you're right. Let's talk about some of those broader issues then, Mr. Nomvalo, because what we have seen, not just in the past 2 days, but in fact for months in South Africa, has been the questions around auditors and accountants and how much they allowed to take place as state capture was unraveling in South Africa. I mean, clearly there's a very big problem there that we need to be dealing with.
Oh, yes, certainly. But we should not forget also the fact that all organizations, be it NPO, be it state-owned entity or an organ of state or a private sector corporate, they establish structures. There's boards of directors, there's internal audit, there's risk management, there's audit committee, all of which are charged with the responsibility to ensure that the affairs of that organizations are attended to with probity. There's no fraud, there's no corruption, and auditors come in periodically to oversee that which has happened so that they can provide assurance to other stakeholders. When they come, it's often very, very late, and therefore the burden that they carry in order to uncover wrongdoing is much, much bigger. I think while there has been some of our members who have assisted in these things, who have been complicit, the majority of our members are not. And the job they face in order to uncover as well as report on these things is a very difficult one when all the other structures that are supposed to safeguard the interests of the company are not doing so.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about some of those structures because you yourself and other organizations have had conversations with Parliament around bringing in more regulation around the work that is done by accountants and auditors especially.
Oh, yes, certainly. ERBA is a regulatory body that looks into our activities. It accredits SAICA as a professional body. It regulates the auditors, and all efforts to ensure that the ERBA is effective in its activity, in its work, must be supported. And as such, SAICA has added its voice in the amendment to the Audit Profession Act that is underway at the moment. And we support some of the initiatives that ERBA is asking for. All we ask is that to the extent that we are extending those, we should also keep an eye on the Constitution so that we do not put provisions in there that would fall foul of the Constitution. That's all we're asking.
Well, we certainly hope that SAICA will be looking into some of the issues that we've talked about, especially into Kwinana, and keep us updated on that as well. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Freeman Nomvalo, CEO of the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants. Let's look at other news. After spending almost 2 weeks behind